Beautiful, 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 beautiful. Just packing the last of the stuff for a quick little overnighter, just down to our Wilsons Promontory. Funnily enough, the last stuff I pack is the camera gear. Haven't worked that one out yet. I'm only about 5 minutes away from the first location I'm scouting out for the time being, which is Tidal River. Now that's a location I'm planning on shooting for sunrise in the morning. Now it's looking the opposite direction to the sunrise, but according to the cloud predictions there's meant to be a lot of high cloud coming through overnight. So what I'm hoping is by pointing away from the sunrise I'm going to get some beautiful pastel-y colours in the sky. That's the plan. We can just wait and see, eh? The second location I'm going to tonight is Whiskey Bay. Now that's my sunset location. Again, it's going to be a relatively clear night, so I don't know how it's going to work, but as I said, we'll just have to look for some differing compositions if there's not a lot of colour or any textures in the sky or anything. But you know, that'll come once I actually end up there. But for now I've just pulled over at a lookout that's overlooking the whole area, and it is absolutely gorgeous. The waters around here are beautiful blue colours. You've got nice mountain ranges, Mount Oberon just over there. It's the only one I know. There's another one over there somewhere. A couple little islands off to the south, and oh, I tell you, it's a sight to behold, this place. Yeah, so I'm going to jump back in the car before anyone else rocks up at the lookout, because can't handle that, and get down and start scouting out Tidal River. I'm down on Tidal Beach, Norman Beach I think it's called, at the mouth of the Tidal River, and the tide at the moment is probably a tiny bit higher than what it will be in the morning. So there's not much here. It's just a big open area of sand with a lot of textures, ripples, and just watermarks, which is very nice. It's going to make for a nice, just a nice soft image, I think. Anyway, I'm just going to trudge on back to the car and get over to Whiskey Bay and have a look over there. Well, it's an absolutely stunning beach. Barely any people down here at all. Now I checked the tides before I came, and it's an incoming tide at the moment. High tide is around about half hour to an hour after sunset. So while I'm looking around, I've got to be mindful that if I go and climb on any rocks, I've got to make sure I can get off them. So I'm just about to start having to climb up and around and see what I can find. Having a quick look around, I've got a few compositions that I think will work rather nicely. Now, the first one is going to be tricky to get the exposure right. Now, what I've got is this big canyon right in front of me. It's probably looking at it, probably a 10-metre drop down into the water. Now we've got the waves crashing into this canyon, but from up the top here, the foreground interest will be this beautiful rock on the top that's got a beautiful red stain to it. How many times can I say beautiful in one sentence? Jeez, I've got to find a new word. Stunning, there you go. Stunning red colour. It's also got a little bit of a grass plant up here, just a couple little lone ones by themselves, which is rather nice. But as I said, the sun's setting directly in front of this, so I'm not sure how that's going to work for exposure. I'll set up in just a second, have a quick test and see what we can do. The other composition is about a whole 3 metres, 2 metres, a metre away. It's looking across the beach, so it's a beautiful, nice beach. The waves coming in. Did I just say beautiful again? I apologise. Looking across the beach, you got the rocks down the other end, the big boulders. You got this beautiful landscape over the other side. and some nice boulders from this end of the beach in the foreground, with some grassy sea plants and stuff in the foreground. So there's going to be some nice texture in this one, a nice view, and with we're running about a 1 or 2 second exposure, we're going to really smooth that water out. It's going to look perfect. So I'm really liking these two compositions. Now I'm just going to grab my gear and keep having a look around. I'm going to do a bit of a climb around these rocks and see what else we can find. But at the moment, those two are, yeah, they're looking good. So yeah, see how we go. Yeah, looks like I won't be trekking around the other side of this canyon.
Wish that I could stay. Wish for this moment to never go away. But it's all in my mind, and though I know that there is nothing to find, you're a beautiful sight in the summer night.
Now I'm all set up for the shot I had in mind earlier. The sun is dipping behind. It looks like a fair bit of high cloud just on the horizon, which, why does it always happen? Not to worry though, not to worry. I've still got some nice side lighting on these rocks just in front. So what I'm running is the circular polarizer and the 3-stop neutral density graduated filter from Nisi. I'm running f11 ISO 50, and I'm just adjusting the shutter speed. What I want to do is I want to take the shot when the sun dips enough that I can get around about a 1.5 second exposure. I'm all set to take the image, just waiting for that sun to drop its light off a little bit, and yeah, we're all good to go. All right, that light dropped off very rapidly as the sun's disappeared behind the clouds, which means I'm now running a 2.5 second exposure. Now, what I'm focused on at the moment is the rocks in the background, in the distance. So I'll run one exposure at that. Let's have a look how it comes out. Yeah, beautiful. What I'll do is one more exposure, focused on the foreground grasses, just to ensure that maximum detail is in the foreground interest. I'll just run this one now. Yeah, that's spot on. That sharpness is absolutely perfect. Absolutely stoked with that image. I'm just going to run over and get a shot of this canyon as I was talking about earlier, while there's still a nice bit of orange haze within that high cloud that's on the horizon. So I'll just shuffle over. Now, as I said, the sun is dipping down very quick. We're losing a lot of light here, but that's all good. What it's allowed me to do is drop to 3 brackets, only because the foreground is very dark. It's the cliffs on the right hand side of this canyon are very dark compared to everything else. Running exact same setup as before. This time I'm running a vertical composition and using this little jutting out rock in front of me with the little grass plant as the foreground interest, leading into big ocean. And then I've got an island in the background in the distance with the sun setting behind it, although that's almost gone now. So 3 brackets, a 1, a 2 and a 4 second exposure. Let's just see how this goes. I'll just flick it back to 3 brackets. There we go. All right. There we go. It's an absolutely beautiful night tonight. It's so still. There is barely a breeze in the air. A little drama in the sky would have been nice, but not to worry. We've lucked out with everything else. So I'll just quickly, I just got to get a little bit more light in because it has dropped off. All right, here we go. Now I have just flicked over to 5 brackets again. The 3 brackets wasn't bringing in enough detail from that shadows. Well, but it was keeping the sky in check, but yeah. Now, alternatively, I could fiddle with my settings, run 1 exposure for the foreground, 1 exposure for the sky, and then 1 exposure for the dark cliffs. But I just find it much quicker just to flick to 5 brackets, 1 exposure apart, and that brings in more than enough detail for anything I need to do with these images. Just waiting for the last one to finish off now. There we go. Let's have a look. Yeah, nice. Yeah, I like how that's turned out. Alright, I've got two more ideas for images. One is to run a very long exposure, probably drop the 6-stop ND in and run like a couple minute exposure on this big rock. There's a couple boulders to the left of where I am. Now if I walk to the edge of the boulders I'm on at the moment, I'll be able to look down there and get the water coming around and make it look like it's amongst mist, which could work well. Or alternatively, what I might do first, I might duck down here just in front of me, get down as close to the water as possible that's safe, and shooting probably about 40 degrees to the right of where I just was. There's a rock that's got some beautiful gleaming side light from the sun that's setting, and the waves are crashing up over it, so I might add a nice bit of drama, a nice dramatic shot compared to everything else I've got. So I'm going to run down there and get that one first, and then I'll run over and do the long exposure, but I've got to keep quick on this one because we're running out of light very quickly. Alright, I'm set up for the dramatic shot. Now it's very noisy here because I've got some massive waves crashing right below me, and this is absolutely hectic. But I'm running an 8-second exposure at an ISO 400 because we have lost a lot of light. But that's okay, that's just for the foreground. And what I'm going to do is run a separate exposure for the sky. Now the reason I'm not bracketing this time is I want my timing to be pretty right with a nice wave. Now that's pulling in some beautiful side light from here. I'm just going to run a quick exposure for the sky now, which I'm dropping down to a 2-second exposure. Same settings. Now I am still running the same filters as before. Beautiful, we've got the sky. And we've got the foreground. Awesome. I think that's going to look nice once they're blended together. Now to grab everything and go over and do the long exposure that I was talking about before. This is kind of silly. The rocks are a little bit slippery now from the water. Tripod with the camera and filters on it in one hand and the GoPro in the other. You'd think I'd put something down, but nah. Alright, let's set up for this one and see how we go. Alright, the long exposure is running at the moment. Tell you what, it's getting damn cold as well. Oh, lucky the car's only about a 5-minute walk and I'll get quite warm on the way back because I am freezing at the moment and no jumper with me. I'm down to ISO 200, f11, and I'm just in bulb mode, running around about a 2-minute exposure. Now I am just counting in my head, and I'm going to have a look now, which is pretty much 2 minutes up. Well, as far as my head goes. I'm not a fan of the composition. I've got to move it over just a little bit, but I reckon I'm going to time the next one and run it for 2 minutes bang on, and that's coming out nice. So let me just adjust that and we'll get the next image done. Well, as you can see, I'm under torchlight now. We're out of light. Now that's the 2 minutes actually worked. I had to adjust the composition around again just a little bit. I wasn't quite happy with it, but that's come up really nice. I'm really happy with how that one's come up, considering the conditions I'm dealing with here. So anyway, I'm going to grab all my gear and get out of here and settle in for the night before heading out at stupid o'clock in the morning. So catch you soon, guys. Oh, I'm down at Norman Beach this morning, and it was a bit of a chilly night in the back of the car, and this morning the wind has really picked up. It's not abnormally strong, but there is a decent breeze. You can hear it blowing through the trees just to the hills to the right of me, and yeah, it should be fine anyway. I don't think it's going to blow through too much on the beach here. We're reasonably sheltered. So from here, it's looking like a beautiful composition in that the tidal river in front of me just sort of esses into the ocean. All right, well I'm all set for the shot. I've got the composition, which is pretty much what I was talking about before, just following the lines of this river into the ocean. It's pulling in some of the mountains on the left and just keeping a little bit of this rock formation on the right. I'm trying to keep the trees out of it on the right because the wind is blowing a bit, and I just want to keep that blur out of it. Now, what I was aiming for was around about a 1 second exposure. Now, the light is right at the moment for a 1 second exposure, f11 ISO 200. So let's just get it now. I've just found one last composition, but I'm going to have to be very quick because the tide's coming in fast here, and I'm going to get wet if I'm not careful. What I found was right down the west end of the beach was this single boulder in the shot. What I'm getting is when the tide sweeps in and then sweeps back out, it's leaving this nice reflection across the flat sand. Now I've got, I think it's Mount Oberon in the distance. I've got the sun just about to peek up and over it. So I've got to be careful with my exposures here. So what I'm doing is I'm 3 bracketing using this boulder in the foreground as a strong foreground interest. I've just moved a little bit closer to the rock, gone a little bit wider, and gone for a vertical composition. I think this is going to work just as nice, if not better, than the horizontal. Just waiting for this water to do what I need. Hopefully it's listening to me. That sun is just starting to poke up now, which is, I was trying to get these images done before they actually poked up. I think this might be the last one I'm going to be able to get out of it. Fingers crossed, it's coming up good. Well, I think that's the end of the landscape shots for today. That sun is now above the hill and it is very harsh. There is not a cloud in the sky to diffuse that one little bit, and it's very, very bright on everything it's touching. So anyway, that's me out for the time being. Thanks heaps for coming on this trip. Anyway, I'll catch you around, guys. Cheers.